The HEMA is IKEA's way of thinking applied to socks, makeup, and rookworst, the sausage that made the HEMA famous. In time, a vegetarian version appeared as well. It's called oakwurst, a simple play on words meaning this is also sausage. The HEMA is inexpensive, but not cheap. Good quality, bright colors, and good enough for gift giving. All of that thinking was contained in four letters, HEMA. So, who first thought up this concept and why did it almost go wrong in recent years? Hey, hoi, welcome to the Dutch door. Kom maar in. Ga je mee? The HEMA stood for Hollandse Eenheidsprijzen Maatschappij, which translates directly as the Dutch Fixed Price Company. When the HEMA opened in 1926, the radical idea wasn't just low prices, it was visible prices. In many shops back then, prices weren't clearly displayed. You asked, the shopkeeper decided. The amount you paid could depend on how much you bought, how you looked, or whether you were a regular. That meant friction, uncertainty, and quietly, class differences. The HEMA changed that. It offered fixed prices, clearly shown, with no bargaining and no difference between customers. In that sense, it echoed ideas already seen at the high end of retail, such as Selfridge in London, where open displays and visible prices reduced social barriers. The HEMA applied the same principle at the lowest price level, making clarity and fairness available to everyone. We forget how powerful that is because it feels normal now. But anyone who's shopped in places where prices aren't displayed, for example, when you're on holidays in the more southern countries of the globe, you know how uncomfortable it feels. You wonder if you're being overcharged. You don't fully trust the transaction. Today, this sounds like a no-brainer though. Of course, prices are clearly displayed. Of course, everyone pays the same. But in the 1920s, that wasn't normal. The HEMA's founders came out of the world of de Bijenkorf, the Netherlands' most upscale department store. That background mattered. They weren't guessing their way forward. They understood margins, sourcing, and presentation right from the start. Their insight was simple. If a store sold other people's brands, the price controlled the store. If it controlled its own products, it controlled the price. So the HEMA chose a different path from five and dime stores like Woolworths. It didn't just sell retail goods, it specified them. The company decided what a product should do, how long it should last, and what it should cost on the shelf, and then looked for factories that could meet those requirements. Early production was mostly European, which was normal at that time. As global manufacturing shifted, some production moved to Asia, especially for textiles and plastics, but the principle never changed. Factories made products specifically for the HEMA to its designs and at its target price. The HEMA didn't focus on selling the cheapest possible item, it focused on making simple products people would trust. That is how it stayed affordable without becoming junk. The HEMA doesn't try to sell everything. It focuses on everyday things, personal items, and food. Towels, socks, notebooks, products that go into people's hands, their mouths, and their daily routines. These are items customers buy often and notice immediately if something is wrong. Food plays a central role. A customer might forgive a poorly made shirt, but not bad food. When a store gets food right, like the rookworst, the pastries, the candy, trust spreads quickly to everything else on the shelf. Food removes doubt. Almost everything the HEMA sells is own brand and designed in-house. That keeps the range limited and the choice is clear. Instead of many versions, there is one towel that works and one notebook that holds up. The product has to justify itself without relying on trends or marketing. The branding follows the same logic. Clean fonts, plain colors, often a single color per product, usually soft pastels. No photographs, no extra logos, just the HEMA name. But then things started to go wrong. The HEMA didn't fail at home, it wandered abroad. After decades of steady success in the Netherlands and nearby countries, the company started pushing outward, into the UK, into Spain, assuming the idea would translate on its own. It didn't. Customers who hadn't grown up with the HEMA concept didn't understand why this plain, own brand store mattered. Without that shared context, the formula lost its grip, and many of those stores quietly closed. The damage wasn't really dramatic, it was slow. The brand was stretched thin. Attention was divided. The HEMA began to feel less certain about itself, even where it still worked. By 2020, control returned to people who knew exactly what the HEMA was, the Van Eert family, best known for the Dutch supermarket Jumbo. They weren't outsiders chasing growth. They were retailers who'd lived with the brand their entire lives. They brought in Saskia Egas Reparas, a Dutch retail executive with long experience on the high street. Store layouts were simplified, product ranges were reduced, whole categories were dropped, and everyday items, the things people actually came in for, were given priority again. So, my favorite store, this cool concept, could it work in North America? In North America, cheap usually means one thing: junk. Dollar stores full of thick plastic, awkward shapes, and things you expect to break soon. You buy them knowing they won't last. The Netherlands went through a phase like that too. There was even common slang for poor quality imports that fell apart as soon as you got them home. Chap how how. Cheap was not neutral. Cheap meant disappointment. The HEMA chose a different path. It didn't chase luxury and it didn't race to the bottom. It stayed in between, affordable but made properly. Wine glasses were thin and well-shaped. If one broke, you didn't feel terrible because they never looked clumsy and they weren't super expensive. Dishcloths did the one thing they were meant to do, and actually absorbed water. Socks felt right. Makeup was inexpensive but good enough that people kept buying it. Now, look at the way we shop today. Big department stores are disappearing. The Bay, Eaton's, Woodward's in Canada. In Germany, Kaufhof is gone. In Spain, even El Corte Inglés feels uncertain. Large general stores do not compete well in an online world. But small personal items are different. You don't buy makeup blindly online. You don't buy dishcloths from a photo and hope they work. You might reorder later once you trust the product, but the first time you want to see it, touch it, feel it. That's why drugstores still exist. That's why this category still needs physical stores. And the HEMA lives exactly there. Everyday things, personal things. We already know this kind of European retail logic works in North America. IKEA proved it years ago. Jysk did too. Both rely on own brand products, tight design control and scale, and much of their successes come from small everyday items rather than big furniture. The HEMA uses the same logic, just without the furniture. The question is therefore not whether a store like the HEMA could work in North America. The question is whether anyone is willing to build it with the same discipline and wait long enough for trust to grow. That brings it back to you. Do you know the HEMA? And if you do, which items do you buy faithfully without even thinking about it?